Sounds like it.
Water was once believed to have magic powers, for it could vanish into the earth and then reappear. But the spell it exerts is as great today as ever it was, perhaps even greater, for all of us know the fascination of water. A creature of the land, man still finds within himself an inner remembering, an instinctive urge towards the water he once worshipped. It's not only essential, it's fun to have around. This eye of the landscape encourages reflection, contemplation, the serene, unhurried human values, and supports life, though usually life somewhat cramped. Water can soothe or exhilarate. Despite an urge to be seen to walk on it, 1 in 4 of us can't swim at all, though 1 million do so regularly, and countless others pull together. Man's the only mammal who must be taught to swim. Those immune may see anyone under the watery spell as a bit of a nit, but never underestimate that old liquid magic working away by sight and sound on riverbanks throughout the land, where every prospect pleases and only man is mobile. So, what is the lure, the fascination of water?
It's rather difficult to define. I suppose that in everybody there's a certain spirit of adventure, which must, and particularly the people of this country, they've all been, we're not so far from the coast, no matter where you live in this country, they've always been sailors, but I suppose everybody has something of that feeling in the blood that they would like to sail a little boat.
And yet people come down here and they sit here and they just stare at the water. That's no adventure, they're just staring at the water.
Well, perhaps that's, there's another fascination. Of course, people enjoy angling. You get anglers who spend all day and not get a bite, and yet they'll go home quite content. They've had a sort of feeling of peacefulness that it's not cars whizzing past constantly. They get that feeling somehow.
But this isn't all that peaceful, is it? All these outboard.
Well, of course they're only just around this area. You go 5 miles up the river, there won't be any. They go to some of the little villages farther up where people haven't ventured today, and they'll have a little spot all on their own where they can go in the field and play with the children or spend the day on the boat. Yes, this is what the people do here.
What is it you like about the water?
Well, I've always liked water. When I was young, every time I went to the seaside, I must go on the water. Tried to get my sister on the water, but she would never go.
Yeah, they can't keep me off.
Until she married her husband, and he made her go, see?
Oh.
But I've always loved the water.
The love affair starts early and, for most of us, persists. And as that old Mississippian Mark Twain once observed, water can't hurt anyone, if taken in moderation. It's always a surprise to remember that there are more anglers than football fans, for it seems such a solitary pursuit. An optimistic 2 or 3 million regularly go fishing. 75,000 licenses sold each year in the West Riding alone. Every one of them blissfully indifferent to surroundings and climate. I can understand the attraction of water when it's down there, but I don't see the attraction of water when it's coming this way. How long are you going to stay here?
Oh, till about 6 probably.
But, I mean, doesn't this rain worry you?
No.
Not at all.
Oh, no, not really, no. We'll go winter or summer. Go in the snow.
Do you?
Freezing.
Why do you come and fish here? I mean, what's the appeal of of
This
a place
particular
like
spot?
this is you're opposite the factory. It's a filthy, turgid pool. It's pouring with rain.
Well, really, we came after bream, which are supposed to be big ones here, like.
Yes.
But up to now, there isn't any.
The case of the missing bream is never easy to solve. But of course, it's not the capture that matters, but the pursuit. Today, as we share our roads with more than 14 million other vehicles, the lemming stampede towards tranquilizing water seems ever more appealing. Boating's one of Britain's 2 growth sports, and inland sailing clubs with 300,000 members are affluent, always ready to float alone. New owners usually take to dinghies. The most popular single class is a 13-footer costing about £300. But sailing out beyond the horizon's a different matter. Small cruisers for coastal pottering start at £1,000. A cross-channel yacht, £3,000. An ocean goer, £10,000. And something with a fancy gangplank, around £250,000. Even so, the picture's changed since the American millionaire J.P. Morgan warned, if you have to think about the cost of a yacht, you can't afford it. Today, many people are finding if they think hard enough, they can afford something that floats. Say, a £40 canoe. And every boat, whatever its shape or size, offers, demands, endless, fascinating hours of messing about. And for an island people with a long coastline and 2,000 miles of inland waterways, this sort of messing is downright therapeutic.
The whole thing is a man, when he's finished his work at weekend, he wants something entirely different. He wants to be away from home, he wants to be away from his work, he wants to be away from TV, if you like, that's running 7 nights a week. He doesn't want all this noise and jangle. He likes to come down and smoke his fag or suck his pipe if you want, with nobody to bother him. And how many places in the world can you find that today? The only one fellow I ever knew that could do that was Gandhi. He knew how to meditate in peace. Most people today, they haven't the time. Nothing matters to them. They want to live false. Plenty of show. Well, the average boatman doesn't want show. All he wants is quiet. It's worth everything. You live longer that way anyway.
A river can be cold and withdrawn, or the coziest of friends. But like a woman, it needs to be loved and lived with before there's a reasonable understanding. Water may be inviting, but many authorities offer the public only a pressing invitation to keep out. For fear of pollution, we're denied access in various ways. And usually, it says here, for our own good. Picnicking prohibited. But water's a sight for city eyes, even from the outside looking in. They can't take that away from us. Here in Yorkshire, there are at least 2 men who are trying to open up the county's waterways. One is from Poland, the other's great-grandfather came from Bavaria. Nicky Sherburn was here with the Polish Air Force. He wanted to be in the Navy, but he wasn't tall enough. He's struggling to build a continental marina at Linton, north of York, and tackling most of the work himself. On his land, a weir, a lock, a disused generating station. He has planning permission to adapt these 8 acres alongside the Ouse and talks expansively of swimming pools, restaurants, and flowery walks around the moorings, though so far there's little to show. On such derelict and unpromising a site, Sherburn plans to introduce all sorts of waterside glamour. Why is it, do you think, it takes someone like you from Poland to come here and develop a Yorkshire River? Why don't the Yorkshiremen do it themselves?
I couldn't tell you that. You have to ask Yorkshire people.
It's strange, though, isn't it? I mean, you've been here for 20 years now. Why do you think it is?
Well, it's difficult to say. Maybe nobody was thinking about this place. I have been here before, because my last station was the Linton on Ouse, which is not far from here.
Yes.
And I have seen this place derelict. And I always was thinking that this can be done something with it.
How much money do you reckon it's cost you up to now?
A little bit difficult to say. In a hard cash, 4,000.
And what about the future?
Well, we already get some caravans. We already have some money coming in. We have a fishing shop here. We have a cafe.
But I mean, a caravan is, what, £30 a year, something like this?
Yes,
You know, if you're going to build swimming pools, it's a lot more than £30.
Yes, but we have a machine, you know. It's building a swimming pool. It's nearly done. It's a natural.
Yes.
It's only we are dredging, you know, with the same machine. And that's all. Time
Yes.
only we need it, and a little willpower. That's all.
Sherburne supports his willpower with a bulldozer and a mechanical digger used mainly to dredge mud out of that outdoor swimming pool to be. Everything has to be ready for that waterborne invasion, that stampede of appreciative boat lovers that he confidently awaits. But, as you can see, a lot of water will go over the weir before then. For, like everything else, the indoor swimming pool to be as yet shows little Lido-like glamour. You could say it resembles a disused generating station.
Well, here will be our future indoor swimming pool. Of course, we have to do some work here. That we have to fill up with the concrete where the turbine have been before.
Those deep holes?
Deep holes, yes.
Yes.
After we have to clean all these things around and make a walk around.
And what about heating the water?
Well, we have a roof, glass roof, which I hope the sun will shining and give the heat through. Usually when the doors are closed, it's very, very warm here. And dressing rooms we have here underneath, already made.
You see, at the moment, it's strictly for the birds, isn't it?
Yes. But in future time, I hope that it will come here in 5 years' time. Possibly will be transformed to the proper swimming pool. We'll need some painting and scraping and doing many alterations, you know, but actually, I think that would be quite nice.
And it'll be river water that's coming.
Oh yes. That's the reason why we are doing the first outdoor swimming pool, through which will pass the water, through the sluice, and after we can let the water go out.
Which is going to be your deep end?
Oh wow, I don't think so. It will be any deep end. You know, we can regulate the water here by let the water more in or let it out. By this, we can regulate the depth of the water. But to alter for a deeper water in one end and shallower in another way would be too expensive too.
Have you any other plans?
Yes, in the future time, possible we'll make the floor, wooden floor, removable, where we hope to do some dancing in the continental style, some possible once a month or so, special one, which I have a few ideas from continent. If possible,
yes.
If they will adapt in this place.
What sort of ideas?
Well, let's say cannibal dance or cannibal lunch or something like similar.
What would that be?
Well, it's the meal what you cannot use any utensil. You are eating with the hands only, nothing else. You are not allowed. And this idea I got from the Amsterdam.
Would you say that you were a man of vision, or would you say that you were a bit of a daydreamer?
Difficult to say, maybe both.
Today you need extrasensory perception to visualize the gay crowd, the white flannels and bikinis and wild cannibal lunches around the pool. But at least Sherburne's trying. He and his imagination are hard at work. And jolly good luck to both of them. The other visionary is a man of action, as you'd expect from a former captain of the British Olympic bobsleigh team and a Yorkshire Rugby Union captain. At Whitby, Keith Schellenberg's taken over the 17th century Whitehall shipyard, and he's force-feeding a touch of South France into East England. Today, his sailing centre has elegant restaurant, discotheque, bar and boutique. But what made him tackle such a transformation of Captain Cook's home port?
Well, I always lived up in North Yorkshire, and latterly at Sandsem, which is not very far from here, and I saw the old shipyard go into liquidation and then become more or less derelict for a year. And based on the fun I've had out of boating, generally on the south coast, and the growth I've seen in private yachts and private pleasure boating and so on, I thought that perhaps something could be done with this, in a entirely different vein from its previous position as a shipyard and a boatyard and so on. And we set about to try and make this into a sort of yacht centre with a difference. We got the bulldozers in for something like 2 or 3 months, levelled all this land up, and bit by bit we've started to try and get it in the sort of shape you see it now. Concentrating, I suppose, on 3 things. First of all, what is generally termed a marine. I don't really like that phrase because it sort of smacks of cocktail bar and so on. Which literally tinted. Well, yeah, but it's not quite the sort of the atmosphere we like to create at Whitby. We've got the sort of pontoons, moorings, the boat park, all to attract boats to Whitby. Now, all this sort of thing, the quays, the slipways we've put in, you see, the quays were just sort of tumble down, rough, muddy, gravelly sort of area sloping down to the shore, and we've filled these in and built up the walls, put a couple more buildings, big buildings up for shipbuilding and so on. We've still a lot to do yet. But if
Schellenberg, a most water-orientated man with endless enthusiasm and drive, organises everyone.
Well, you've given instructions to Ingrid about this.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Good.
Now, yes.
Well, we'll answer you early Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, yeah.
You won't let us down about
No,
that?
about 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We understand that this boat is quoted at 3 to 1 against in the event of the weather being rough.
A powerboat fanatic, he helps run the Whitby-Scarborough race.
Oh dear. Why are we doing that? Toc H project. You've seen Bob Carr, the chap in the white overalls?
In this ancient yard, he makes, repairs and sells boats.
I know quite a lot about them already.
They compare well with the Gravina, do they?
Oh yes, they use the same sort of extinguishant as the Gravina.
Yeah.
And the advantage of these over the Gravina is that, of course, they have they're sold in a complete kit form.
What about discounts?
Well, discounts are quite good. The normal trade discount is 15%.
Not enough. Well, this is the one, boys. It's,
This is the one I rather fancy because I really want to use it on the beach so as we can come in on the surf.
very stable. You can put plenty of people in it, you know, it won't tip over or anything else. And it's very good in choppy weather, this. And very stable, you know, you're getting in and out and climbing on board. And a normal boat will heel over like this, but this one remains very stable because of this hull construction.
Well, this is fun, actually. This is fun.
It's
because
not fun. It's not fun. Now, I may have thought, I must say at the beginning, I may have thought, well, this is fun. And let's face it, I love boats and I like people and so on. But I've had 10 times as many headaches and problems with this as I ever expected.
So what's left still to do? What does the future hold?
Well, along the yacht and pleasure boat side, I'd like to see Whitby develop as one of the leading centres, you know, in Britain. I'd like to see a barrage constructed over here so that we can lock the whole of this upper harbour in to include an enormous number of boats. And I've actually had Bertlin, Mr. Bertlin, who's the top authority really on this sort of thing in this country, up here to do a survey for this. There's no limit if we could possibly get something like this off the ground. And
But that's a major operation.
not
It's going to
really.
cost a fortune.
It's not going to cost a fortune. There are 2 stages. You can either have a road, a combined road and barrage going across the harbour, somewhere across here, which would cost, I suppose, about £400,000 with a lock. But that's got to be set against the fact that this bridge has had it, the communications through the town cause a great deal of havoc and chaos, they're hopelessly inefficient. This would be really a wonderful thing for Whitby, if this could be done. Combine this with a lock, and then you have a wonderful inland lake stretching all the way up to Russell.
So what was the reaction of the people over there, the people of Whitby? Were they delighted to see the shipyard spring into action again?
Oh, yes. We didn't expect to be in the position we are now, but we're the largest employers of labour in Whitby, I suppose, and just about the largest ratepayers. We brought a lot of capital into the place, and a lot more people, so that all the thoughtful, forward-looking ones were pretty delighted.
Yet your relations with the people of Whitby haven't always been smooth, have they?
Not all the people, no. I mean, there are little pockets of reactionary thought which regards the arrival of anything at all into Whitby as a major disaster. I mean, you know, you do get people who see the digger there working in the mud to try and flatten this out with mud. They immediately telephone the harbour master, good gracious me, said, you know, the shipyard's damming up the river. You know, we have all this sort of thing from time to time. There are people with binoculars who look to make quite sure that we're not transgressing any laws. But on the whole, you know, what one takes this and takes the humour, you know, from the situation as one finds it.
Yes, everyone's going back to the water, which produces a sort of serenity. Or that's what I used to think.